Hello and thanks for watching Best Master Tutors. I'm continuing to go through the Edexcel Foundation paper from 2019, this paper one, on question 21. And if you'd like to see the other questions, which we'll be covering, then please hit the subscribe button. So question 21 is a question which says we've got 40 students in a class, and each student will either walk, cycle, or get a bus to school. I'm given some information about how many do each and whether they're girls or boys. What we've got to do is work out the number of students who walk to school in the end. So what this is a two-way table style question. So first of all, I'm going to need to try and think of all the categories that I've got. So I can see that I've got girls and boys. So I can write that in, girls or boys. And we're going to have a total as well at the bottom. So that's going to be our horizontal categories. And then in the other categories, we've got that they either walk, cycle, or get the bus to school. So we can put those as headings across the top. So we've got walk, cycle, or get the bus. And we're also going to need to have a total column as well at the end. So I'm just going to make up my table now, put the lines in. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to fill in all the values that we've got. So we can see we've got 22 girls in the class. So I can fill that in at the end of the column for girls. Then I've got the total girls, and that's going to go here, 22. And then we're told that 9 of the girls walk to school. So if I go across with the girls and down with walk, that just gives me this square here. And so I'm going to write in 9 in that one. And then we've got 7 boys cycle to school. So again, we'll go across by crossing this row now with the boys. And we're in this column, the one for cycle. So we're going to fill that in. That's going to be 7. And then we're told that 6 of the 10 students who get the bus to school are boys. So we can fill that one in. We can fill in across there, going to the boys, that we've got 6 who get the bus. And also, though, we do know that 10 students, so there's 2 pieces of information given here, 10 students who get the bus are 6 of the 10 students are boys, but in fact, we've got 10 students in total. So we can put that in there. And finally, we've got the grand total, which is 40. So we're told there are 40 students in the class, and that's going to go in this bottom right here, which is the total of all the totals. And so, given this information, we can work out the remaining columns. I'm just going to change colour pen so we can see which ones I've now worked out. So every column or row is going to add up to the total. So for example, we've got this 40 here, and in this row, that must in this column, the totals column here, that means that these totals must add up to 40. So we can work out the one that's going to go here by saying, well, if 22 and this value must add up to 40, we could actually find it by taking 22 away from 40. So if I do that, then I can see that if I cross that out, make that a 10, that's going to give me 18. So I can fill that in there. That's 18 there. So any row or column that's got a missing number, we can actually work out. So like this one here, we can see we've only got one value missing, so we can work this one out. So we can see that it must add up to 10, this column. And for that to be true, we've got 6 here, then this would have to be 4, because 4 plus 6 make 10. So we just continue to fill this in now, and we can see that this the row for the girls now only got one missing value, and we know that they must add up to make 22. So the missing value here must be what I'd have to add on to 9 and 4 to give me 22. So I'm going to just add the 9 and the 4 together. So 9 plus 4 equals 13. And then I'm going to take, that's the total of the 9 and the 4. And then I'm going to take that away from the 22. So 22 minus 13. And if I do that, just borrow from there, I can see that must be a 9. And 1 from 1 just gives me 0, so it's 9. So this value here must be 9. And that makes sense because we can see that 9 plus 9 is 18, plus 4 does give me 22. For this value here, we can see that this is a total. So that must be the total of the 9 that we just worked out and this 7. So I'm going to fill them in, and that's going to give me 16. If I add the 9 and the 7 together, it gives me 16. And we can work out this one now, which is the number of boys who walk. So if we look at the total for the number of boys, it's 18. So the 18 must come from adding this value here that I'm yet to find, the one I circled, plus the 7 and plus the 6. So I'm going to add the 7 and 6 together. So 7 plus 6 is 13. And then I'm going to just take that 13 away from the total. So 18 minus 13 is just 5. So that means that must be the value there. So I've got 5 plus 7 plus 13. And that does make 18. So that's correct. So we've only got one value now to find. And this is the total number of students who walk to school. And that was the value that we were actually asked to find in the question. So we could either work it out by adding up this column here. So 9 plus 5 must give me the total who walk. And that's going to be 14. But what I'm also going to do, so we've got the answer there, but I'm just going to check that that's correct, because it should also be correct along this column as well. And if I've made a mistake, it won't add up to the final value. So if I add up these values here, 14 plus 16 plus 10, I can actually see 14 plus 16 is 30, plus the 10 there. So 14 plus 16 plus 10. If I added all those together, then that would give me 40. So that's correct. So the answer is, to this one, 40 students, sorry, not 40, it's the one we found here. 14 students walk to school. That's that one done. We now look at question 22. Then we can see what we've got is there's some different coloured cubes in a box. So we've got blue cubes, red cubes, and yellow cubes, and we've got a probability table for this. So we can see that the probability of getting a blue cube out of the box is 0.2. It's taken at random. And what we're asked to do is complete the table. But we're given that the number of red cubes is the same as the number of yellow cubes in the box. Now, one thing that we do know is that all probabilities must add up to 1. So we know that this row here must add up to 1. So that means that 0.2 plus the red and the yellow values must add up to 1. And because we're told that the number of red cubes and yellow cubes is the same, then these two values must be equal. So that's how we're going to work this one out. So they must be equal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 0.2 away from 1. So I'm going to go 1 minus 0.2. And that should equal 0.8. So I'll just write that as a sort of more full calculation. So I could write the 1 as being 1.0. And underneath it, I'd write the 0.2. And then what I would do is I would need to borrow from the 1 there. So I'll cross that out, write a 0, and add that one into the column there, into the tenths column. And now I'm going to take away the 2 from the 10. That's going to give me 8. I've got a decimal point, and I've got 0 from 0 is 0. So there we go. So we can see why that's 0.8. And then because these two values are equal, what I can do is I can just divide the 0.8 by 2. So if I do that, I'm going to just write this in one of these bus stop division symbols. So 2's into 0 doesn't go, so I still need to write a 0 there. And I'm going to write in the answer a decimal point above the decimal point in the question. And I'm going to go 2's into 8 is 4. So the answer is 0.4. So I can fill that in, 0.4 and 0.4. And then in the next part of the question, what we're actually told is that there are 12 blue cubes. And we've got to work out the total number of cubes in the box. So in order to do that, what we can say is, well, the probability of getting a blue is 0.2, but also the value of the probability of getting a blue, so I'll just write that like that, prob of getting a blue, is equal to the number of blues, so number of B, I'll write, over the total number. So what we've got is a formula that we can rearrange. Now, from the table, we do know some of these values. We know that the probability of getting a blue is 0.2. So I'm going to write that in 0.2. And we're also given the number of blue cubes. So that's going to be 12. And so I'm just going to call the total number at the moment, I'm going to call that n, total number in the box. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and rearrange this so that I can make n, which is what I need to find for the total number of cubes. I'm going to rearrange that to get n as the subject. So in order to do that, what I can do is I can multiply both sides by n in this. And the reason is because that means n's going to cancel there and there. And I've got n into the top line, which is what I want. I don't really want it to be in the bottom of the fraction. So I'll just change the order of this. N times 0.2 is actually 0.2n, and that's equal to 12. And I just need to get the n on its own. So I'm just going to divide both sides of this by 0.2. So 0.2 and 0.2. And so we've done the same thing to both sides of the fraction of the equation. So that's right. So 0.2 and 0.2 cancel. And that gives me n equals 12 over 0.2. Now we're nearly there. But what 12 over 0.2 means is 12 divided by 0.2. And the easiest way when we're dividing by a decimal is to multiply both sides by 10 until the decimal point drops off the end of the decimal. So we can see if we times that side by 10, we'd actually end up with the decimal point moving one place to the right and becoming equal to 2. If we do the same thing to this side, times by 10, then that's actually now going to equal 120. 12 times 10 being 120. So to get the same answer as the line above there, we just need to divide 120 by 2. So if we do that, you might know the answer to this already, but if we do that, we've got 12's into 1 doesn't go, 2's into 1 doesn't go, I mean to say. 2's into 12 is 6, and then obviously 2's into 0 is 0, so the answer is 60. And so that's the total number of cubes. Total number equals 60. And so we've done that question. If we now look at question 23, this is a question about recipes, and it's a question involving proportionality. So, in other words, the amount of ingredients we need is proportional to the number, in this case, of biscuits that we're going to make. And initially, I always find it useful when we do a question with a lot of words involved to look at what actually we want to find out in the end. We've got to work out the amount of flour that she needs to make 60 biscuits. So we can first of all, we're given that we've got 50 grams will make 15 biscuits. So I'm going to write it this way. 50 biscuits requires 50 grams of sugar. Okay, so we're making 60 biscuits. So because it's proportional, that means if I multiply this, and I can see if I multiply 15 by 4, I'm going to get 60. So 60 biscuits is going to require 4 times the amount of sugar that I had originally. So I can just times this one by 4. So 4 times 50 is going to give me 200 grams of sugar. So we know how much sugar we need, but we're asked to work out the amount of flour required. Well, if we look at this bit of information here, although we're given that we need 2 times as much butter as sugar, we don't need that information for this part of the question. We need to know that we require 3 times as much flour as sugar. So since we need 200 grams of sugar, but we need 3 times as much flour as sugar, all we're going to do is times that by 3 to get 600 grams of flour. So that's that part A done. We're now going to look at part B of this question. So it says that Dion has to buy all the butter she needs to make 60 biscuits. And she's going to buy the butter in 250 gram packs. So how many packs of butter does Dion need to buy? So what we need to know is, how much butter do we need? So how much butter is what we've got to work out next. So going back up to the top again, we can see that we need 2 times as much butter as sugar. So 2 times as much butter as sugar. Well, we can see that we needed 200 grams of sugar because we worked that out, but we've got to multiply it by 2 to get the amount of butter. So we're going to go 200, which is the amount of sugar, times 2, and that's going to give us 400 grams. So 400 grams of butter. Now we're nearly there with that, but we've got to work out how many packs of butter does Dion need to buy. We can see that 1 pack is 250 grams. So that's not enough because we've got to get, although we can't get 400 exactly, we've got to have 400 or more grams. So we've got enough butter. So if we did 2 packs, what we'd have to do, move this board up a little, what we'd have to do is we'd have to multiply the weight of butter there by 2. So doing the same thing to both sides will give us the right answer. So that's going to give us 500 grams. So 2 packs is 500 grams. And because that's the least number of packs we can have before we've gone over 400, then it is 2 packs that we require. So we need to make a statement of that. 2 packs of butter required. So I hope that's been helpful to you. And if it has, we hope you like our video and subscribe to our channel as well to see more of our videos. So thank you for watching.